Hey guys, I am so excited to have another episode of Origin Stories, and I have my friend with me today, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. But first, I'm going to say her name is Amy, and she is an amazing, incredible person, and I'm so excited to interview her today. So, do you want to share a little bit, Amy, about what you do and who you serve?
Absolutely. So, in this season of my life, as you can tell probably from my name there, I sell residential real estate, and I've been doing it for going on 7 years now. I work with my family's team. So, part of my origin story in that area is actually related to my family because I'm now third generation in the real estate business, passed down through from my grandmother to her daughter, and then my mother to myself and my two sisters. So it's a really nice connection. And I serve anybody who is thinking of buying or selling or investing. And that could be at any point. It doesn't even have to be now. I just love helping people find what they need to find out in order to make big decisions.
I love that about you and your heart to serve just everybody when it comes to buying their first home or just being a guiding light in the real estate realm. I did want to ask you because I love the way that you share that. Could you tell everybody your unique way of sharing how you help people?
Absolutely. I mean, a big part of it, we often say we're going to wear several different hats. And if you'll pardon the expression, I often feel more like I have more in common with a midwife than I do anything else because from the joyous news of you're going to buy a house, you're going to sell a house. In other words, a big thing has happened in their lives to cause them to make that decision. And there are moments of celebration. There are moments of queasiness about decisions, moments of fear, uncertainty, and moments where there's just not a lot going on except a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is even though that might be an unnerving analogy for me to introduce myself to my clients, it's definitely in my heart and on my mind because a lot of it, in addition to providing them the hard facts about purchase prices and all of that stuff, I find a lot of it is helping them navigate that emotional turmoil that necessarily comes with it. Now, I'm not by any means a licensed counselor, but I have a great deal of sympathy and compassion for those emotions that can run high, both on the good side and the bad
Mm.
side. So I just want to make sure I find one big thing that helps with that is just information. I want to be transparent. I want them to know what's happening in their own purchase.
That's incredible, and I feel like that just makes the birth experience so much better. Whether or not you're birthing a human or birthing a house, I don't know if I wanna birth a house, but
Yeah, that would
it
probably
makes
not
the
be good.
process smoother, that communication, that openness. When we were talking, you said that there's ways that your origin story has a rebirth. And, here at my podcast, we're interested in origin stories, rebranding, resolutions, revolutions, maybe resurrections, but how have you been remade? I just want to delve a little deeper into that.
Absolutely. Well, as I mentioned, I've only been doing this for 7 years. So I had many years before that in a variety of different roles, and I had some great advice years ago from a colleague at the time. I went from college into my first big job in academic publishing, then into education because I did get a teaching certificate when I graduated. And
Okay.
even though in my mind I thought I was going to teach middle and high schoolers, I ended up teaching engineers for almost 20 years in the automotive industry by running training classes and saw an opportunity to pick up new skills, which led to like a rebirth of learning about database management. I thought I was going to get my master's degree in data systems and took kind of a hard right turn to human factors engineering, which allowed me to then branch out in the automotive industry and do some really cool things with new technology and running studies on that. So I felt like there was an opportunity presenting itself. Why not stretch and grow and learn some skill sets that I didn't think I was capable of?
Yes.
Um, then as my life changed and I found an opportunity kind of right smack dab, I suppose, in the middle of life, then to pursue a passion in music. I went to
Mm,
music school in Boston, learned again, kind of moved into a big area of discomfort in my life to grow and learn some great skills. Of course, everywhere along the way, I've met some great friends that I still stay in touch with. And then eventually moving back to Michigan and finding again when opportunity presents itself. That friend of mine said, you know, she's found, especially as a woman, and she had young boys at the time. She said, I found rebranding and rebirthing myself about every 7 years has done my
mm.
family well. It really worked well, and I thought that's great advice. I love that.
It is, and it's so interesting that you're talking about rebranding and making yourself new again, but it comes with growth. It's not just okay, we're just going to keep doing this. It's like, oh, I'm going to grow in this, and then I'm going to grow in this, and then I'm going to grow in this. You
Hmm.
know, it's a constant growth. And I think as entrepreneurs, if we're going to go anywhere, we have to grow to get there, right?
Absolutely, it goes hand in hand. Really, it does.
So, how do you think origin stories can be influenced by different seasons of life? Has there been changes that have happened because, well, we're getting older? I feel like I went through so many different pivots and changes, and some of that had to do with aging and having more wisdom. What do you think?
I definitely think that's true. I think there's a big part of it, the wisdom and just being exposed to new and different things in life. And
Mm,
I think you and I have a lot in common in that sense where we have a lot of interests. And I feel that, well, why not? You know, it's kind of a big, wonderful buffet of things to learn and know. And at the same time, to know myself better to know what I'm not going to be skilled at. You know, I
mm.
did take a little sidebar thinking I would be good at graphic design. I learned really fast that is not my wheelhouse. And that's good. And that's why I should hire people who are. And I do. Um,
It's
and I
amazing how failure can actually lead to growth too,
absolutely, oh, I think that's where I've had my biggest growth is when stuff does not go to plan.
right?
And that's
Fail
great.
forward.
Always failing forward. And then the other side is just as life changes, you know, as we get older, the truth is whether it's you're growing your family or you encounter um, you know, sad events, the loss of a
Mm,
parent,
mm,
a major illness in a
mm,
spouse can those can be the catalysts that force you like, oh my goodness, I have to
mm.
retool here. Life has thrown me a big curveball and I'd better learn how to adapt.
It sounds like you might have had some of those hard times and challenges. Would you be
Mhm.
willing to share a little bit about how those things remade you, changed you, shifted your perspective?
Absolutely. I think the one major one that definitely caused me to embrace that middle of life adventure in music school was the loss of my mother-in-law.
Mm,
And so by this time, I was already living in New Hampshire, and my mother-in-law was a darling woman. I adored her. I
mm,
was really lucky to have that relationship with her.
that's
She became
beautiful.
very, yeah, it really was. She was, I often said, if she wasn't my mother-in-law, if I'd known her in different circumstances, we'd probably still be friends. So she had quite an interesting background as a dancer. And so
Mm,
she was always interested in art and dance and very gentle, just sweet, gentle woman. She got ill and passed away, and I was
mm.
there to be able to care for her in the last month of her life.
Oh, wow.
And out of that came a revelation of how, um, you know, whenever you have a deeply rooted passion, especially if you think it's something super creative,
Mm,
whether it's in the fine arts or not, I don't think it really matters.
mm.
But that I think we as adults perhaps too much choke those back and like, oh, I
Oh,
can't take that seriously
yeah,
now.
right.
And I thought, by God, I quite literally, by God's grace, I am not going to pass up the opportunity to try. You know, life had presented me that openness after that
Mm,
open opportunity to do that, and I walked head on into stage fright that I thought you're just not going to get the best of me this time. You're just
yeah,
not going to. I'm
Yeah.
determined. And through many years of very cringe-worthy performances, I did it. Um, and coming out of that, though, I learned so many other things I could never have possibly known I was going to learn. But that
Mm,
really did, it caused me to step back and say, this life stuff's really serious. Let's
yes.
do this. Just do this. Just do it. Just
It's
do it.
amazing how beautiful things can come from hard or deep places of sorrow,
Yes.
and it reminds me of like when you plant a seed, the seed has to die in order to grow and to give that flower, right? Like something has to die in order for something to live. And I think you beautifully illustrated that. Now, I am curious, have you had any ways that you've been remade or had to undergo a transformation recently?
For sure. So the other hard event that forced a transformation was my husband was seriously ill
Oh,
in the winter of 22.
oh
Um,
my goodness.
took a long time to get a proper diagnosis. He was really
Mm,
languishing. I mean, it was serious.
mm,
Um, to the extent that it forced me to step back and not only have to because he was a really active guy, he'd do stuff around the house. And I thought, well, I've got to be able to step in and do what he can't do, plus make sure he's taken care of because it really limited his mobility.
okay.
Um, and what it ultimately led to in the spring of 2023 was my encounter with Jesus.
Mm,
That out of that terror, and it was truly terrifying, out of that terrifying unknown, um, it caused me to dig deep and realize there's a
mm,
big hole. There's something that all of the good in my life still
mm,
hasn't been able to fill.
mm,
And it led me there. And that has produced, out of that, again, that flowering out of it,
mm,
so much good. And they talk about the fruits of the spirit, and it really is, because now I feel like every day I kind of approach, whether especially as work, even in a hard time in real estate where there's people are getting out of the business because there's
yeah.
not enough business to go around for some folks. I just get up and I literally thank God, and I just ask God for the joy of serving
Mm,
my fellow humans, and that changes everything.
it does. It does. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm curious, what do you think your superpower is?
Oh my goodness. I saw that question somewhere else too. I have no idea. Maybe, um, maybe it's, uh, I don't know,
It's a hard question, isn't
compassion.
it?
Maybe it's compassion, um,
Yeah.
because I feel, and some people have said maybe too deeply. I feel too deeply for
Mm,
other people. Like I feel truly like I cry when they cry, and
yes.
I
Well, you can
laugh
see
when
I
they
was tearing up when you were telling your story. I just can't
laugh.
help it.
Well, compassionate souls, I guess we recognize one another.
Right?
But I think that's really it. Even my most ornery clients, I just feel like I don't know what they're going through.
Right.
Maybe they're
Mm,
getting beaten up at work
yeah.
mentally and emotionally. Maybe
Yeah.
they're having a falling out with their
Mhm.
kids, and
Mhm.
we don't know the things that weigh on people's minds and
Right.
hearts.
And this could be a part of that seed going into the earth and dying. The hard part, right? Or when
Mhm.
the diamond is like being pulverized and then, boom, you
You get
have
it.
the diamond.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe
Mm,
that's it. I mean, and I've never shied away from kind of that part, the less easy parts of getting close to people.
yeah, that's a gift. I think that is an incredible superpower to have to when it's hard to push in. That's when people are like, I gotta go. I cannot do this hard thing. So I recognize that in you, and it's truly a beautiful gift. So I'm curious, what is your biggest passion, Amy? What is your biggest passion?
Oh, golly. I have to say that the biggest passion, which again, I thank God for the gift, is a passion for music,
Mm.
and I get to frequently participate in worship at church musically. I get to be part of that.
Mm.
I get to sing with 100 and how many now? 165 of my fellow friends in Ann Arbor once a week, and that really
Uh,
keeps my soul alive. That passion has never faded, and I truly don't know what I'd do without it.
Music is a way that we can truly express ourselves,
Mm,
and I think so many times in life, because I'm a singer too, I have
yes.
had hard things that I'm going through, but if I sing it out,
Mm,
then something happens. And I recently was connecting with someone, and she said, when you say things out loud, your brain is communicating with your heart. And I
yeah.
was like, oh, yeah, I feel that deeply. I think that's what's happening when we sing.
Oh, yes.
Is we are singing and the words are just, we're participating and it's engulfing us. And, sometimes that's been parts of real transformation for me have been I've been singing this truth and now I'm like, okay, that's for me right now in this moment.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It communicates things in a way that just regular speech can't, and there's a whole world of the heart in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, if you could leave our listeners with one thing, one little tip about rebirth or rebranding, what would you want that to be about? What would you want to say to them if they're right at that pivotal moment?
I would say if you ever reach that point and you're filled with fear about it, whether
Mm.
it's you have to change because life's forcing you to,
Mm.
or an opportunity comes across your path, the fear is normal. It's
Oh.
okay. Lean into it. That's a sign that there's a lot there to be mined and discovered, and
Mm.
you'll always have a community of fellow rebirthers who, can say, "Oh, absolutely. Just press forward. What you're doing is normal. What you're feeling is normal."
That's incredible. I really love that. Fear means that there's something there that needs to be mined out. Oh
Mm.
my goodness, Amy, this is an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. I was curious, how can people get connected with you if they want to know more about what you do, or maybe they're looking for a real estate agent? What would be a great way for them to get connected?
Absolutely, and it's been so great. I'm so lucky, Trey, that you asked me to do this. This has been fantastic. Um, I'm old school. Just call me
Oh, I
810.
love it.
Oh, yes. 810-588-8564. That is my cell phone, my business phone, my everything phone, text. And that is whether you are in real estate, or rather you're looking for a realtor. If you just want to talk about, rebirth, or just want to talk, or, you want to come to my church or anybody's church or whatever, hey, I'm open. Whatever it is, just hit me up.
I love your openness to sharing what God has done in your life and the positive ways that you have been able to see the pivots and those hard seasons in your life. So, thank you for sharing. And as always, this podcast is about origin stories, rebranding, revolutions, and resurrections. Thank you again for joining us. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Trey. Bye.